Sacramento's illusion of big league glory. Today on Half Truth, Full Ledgers. Welcome to Half Truth, Full Ledgers, the newest addition to the House Always Wins Media Network. I am your host, Boon, lifelong A's fan, and I have been studying the business side of the A's franchise for almost 2 years now. And believe me, there is a lot to study. As an individual with a quarter century of experience in the tech, banking, real estate, and financial sector in the Silicon Valley, I have found so much misinformation out there. It is hard to understand where people get their information, and that is why this channel was created. Half Truth, Full Ledgers, the only show that tracks the trail of money, politics, and spin behind the Oakland, Vegas, Sacramento, who knows anymore, athletic saga. We're here to fact check the half-truths, flying out of front offices, press conference, social media, fellow podcasters in city halls, and replace them with the full ledgers. The real numbers, deals, and motives hiding under the green and gold smoke. Every episode dives into the business of baseball as it really is, not the fairy tales. We break down stadium subsidies, billion-dollar relocations, and every half-truth that conveniently leaves out a lot of the full ledger. These are not meant to be long shows. We grab the topic and simply give you, the audience, the full story so you have the information to form an opinion of your own. I definitely have mine. I will state it. But at the end of the day, what I say does not make me right, and what you say does not make you wrong. How it should be. If you love baseball, hate being lied to, or just want to understand the business behind the baseball, do me a favor. Hit subscribe and follow. Today, we crack open the shiny promise of Sacramento's Major League Baseball dreams and expose the math that kills them. This show dives into why future expansion isn't about fandom or market potential. It's about which city is willing to hand over the largest public subsidy. From Vegas to Salt Lake City, other cities are shoveling hundreds of millions in taxpayer dollars into ballpark projects, while Sacramento's financial cupboard is bare. We explore the ghosts of Golden One Center debt, the politics of billionaire welfare, and the cold historical truth that no modern MLB team has been born without government money. It's part economic autopsy, part civic therapy, and fully drenched in receipts, history, and the kind of truth MLB execs wish you'd ignore. Sacramento may have heart, but it doesn't have the ledger. Let's start with a hard truth. The city that gets a Major League Baseball team isn't the one with the best fans, the most charming downtown, or the crispest ballpark hot dogs. It's the one that offers the fattest taxpayer-funded check for a new stadium. You may not like the rules of the game, but those are the rules of the game. Baseball expansion is less like a meritocracy and more like an auction for municipal pride, and the highest bidder wins. And Sacramento? Well, Sacramento is the guy at the auction who showed up with an enthusiastic smile and a debit card that's already maxed out from paying off the last shiny toy. Sure, the A's are playing at Sutter Health Park through 2027, and Sacramento is enjoying its 15 minutes of MLB glory. But this flirtation is not going to lead to marriage. MLB Expansion Derby is a calculated, subsidy-driven contest, and Sacramento simply doesn't have the wallet, the political appetite, or the historical firepower to play in the big leagues. Follow the subsidy, follow the team. Here's the first rule of modern sports expansion. Follow the subsidy. Every single significant stadium deal in MLB history has followed this blueprint. When the Expos moved to Washington, D.C. in 2005, the city coughed up $611 million in public funding, then the largest stadium subsidy in American sports. The Nationals' new home, Nationals Park, was supposedly a catalyst for redevelopment, and it did redevelop something, the art of convincing taxpayers to underwrite billionaire real estate ventures. Fast forward to the 2020s, and the bidding wars have only grown more obscene. In Nevada, the legislature happily approved $380 million in public funding for the Oakland Athletics' future Las Vegas stadium. That restructuring of corporate socialism earned unanimous MLB owner approval by late 2023. That 30-0 vote was no accident, was no coincidence. Meanwhile, Salt Lake City saw those Vegas numbers and said, "Hold my beer." The Utah legislature passed a plan enabling up to $900 million in public funds for a new MLB stadium within its power district, championed by Larry H. Miller Company, the same people who once owned the Utah Jazz and are lobbying like jazz musicians who just discovered venture capitalism. This, my friends, is what the expansion battlefield looks like. 9-figure subsidies, billionaire ownership groups, and state legislatures tripping over themselves to write checks in the name of civic pride. Sacramento's wallet is empty and its creditors are nervous. Let's remember, Sacramento has already played this game once, and it nearly broke the city. When the Sacramento Kings threatened to bolt to Anaheim a decade ago, then Mayor Kevin Johnson, a former NBA player himself, pulled off an impressive save by pushing through the Golden One Center deal. It cost the city $273 million in public bonds, built on the optimistic assumption that parking revenue would easily cover the debt. Then, 2020, COVID, downtown emptied, commuters disappeared, and with them, the parking revenue. Suddenly, the city had to divert general fund money intended for libraries, parks, and services for the unhoused to make payments on an arena for millionaires. That Golden One hangover is still pounding away in the city's fiscal skull. The Sacramento Bee recently reported that over $5.7 million from the city's general fund was transferred just to cover bond payments. Imagine trying to persuade the same taxpayers to foot another $1 billion bill for a baseball stadium when they are still paying for the basketball one. Politically, it's toxic. Even City Hall knows it. State Senator Angelique Ashby, who once championed the Golden One deal, acknowledged in 2025 that, quote unquote, there is no appetite, no bandwidth, and no spare change in the couch cushions for another subsidy like that. Translation: Sacramento's broke, guys. Public officials may wave pom-poms when the A's show up for their temporary stay, but they're not signing another decade-long check. The market argument: great town, middling market. Sure, Sacramento is a good sports town, loyal, loud, and genuinely invested in its team, but loyalty doesn't cash out as market size on an MLB balance sheet. Let's talk demographics. MLB expansion teams need a population base of around 2.5 to 3 million in their metro area to sustain TV ratings, sponsorships, and corporate partnerships. Sacramento's metro population sits at around 2.4 million, smaller than Portland, Nashville, Charlotte, and even Salt Lake City. That doesn't disqualify it, but in this league of billionaires, even being a strong mid-market feels like showing up to a black tie gala wearing loafers. And to that, the proximity problem. Sacramento sits just 90 miles from San Francisco, home of the San Francisco Giants. MLB has historically been louder than a foghorn about market overlaps. The reason the A's territory dispute with the Giants festered for decades is precisely because MLB guards territorial rights like a dragon guards its hoard. Giants owner Greg Johnson would sooner let Barry Bonds return to hit cleanup than let Sacramento enjoy a fully independent franchise next door. MLB's use of Sacramento as a temporary home for the A's is disguised as generosity. It's cheaper, easier, and logistically simpler than squatting in a minor league park in Nevada while construction crews pave Paradise Boulevard in Las Vegas. But make no mistake, Sutter Health Park is a stopover, not a destination. It's the equivalent of crashing on a friend's couch while your new condo gets built. Sacramento is the friend with a spare room, appreciated but not invited to move in permanently. That symbol matters because every year the A's play in Sacramento will highlight that the city is capable of hosting baseball games, but not of funding baseball dreams. The Great Expansion Derby, who's actually in this race? If Sacramento's the guy who showed up to the auction without enough cash, here's who came in with full checking accounts and shiny new suitcases of tax revenue. My personal odds-on favorite, Salt Lake City. $900 million in approved funding located in the Power District Plan. It is shovel-ready and being backed by the Larry H. Miller Company. Portland, $800 million in proposed quote-unquote jock tax. Waterfront sites are currently being scouted, and this is being backed by the Portland Diamond Project. Nashville, mostly private with minor incentives, located at the Nashville Stars Project, being backed by the John Lohr Group and Music City Baseball. How about Charlotte? $700 million government tourism package proposed at the South End Stadium site. Multiple ownership groups are currently circling. How about your Sacramento? Not sure what they would be called. $0. Using the River Cats ballpark, temporary. Supposedly they have bought some land in downtown Sacramento. What that is being used for, not sure. Now, this kind of tells the whole story. This table that you will see on the screen tells the whole story. The MLB expansion train has already left the station. Sacramento's on the platform waving a city flag and holding a bus pass. Think about the history that should keep Sacramento up at night. A glance at history reveals one unavoidable truth. No modern MLB team was ever awarded to a city without massive public spending. Not one. Hey, don't blame the messenger. I didn't create the rules. Washington Nationals, 2005, $600 million in public funds. The Marlins in 2012, $515 million in public funds, $155 million private. Result, a political scandal, lawsuits, and a stadium that looks like it was designed by Dr. Seuss. Atlanta Braves, 2017, $300 million plus in public funding, despite moving 12 miles north. The Rangers in 2020, $500 million in public bonds approved by voters. MLB expansion in the 2020s will likely command $2.3 billion franchise fees each, with another $1 billion in stadium financing layered on top. MLB ownership groups expect cities to cover at least half. So unless Sacramento's city council members start digging for gold along the American River again, there's no conceivable political or financial path for them to offer the $800 million check it would take to complete. Still, city pride has a way of deluding the hopeful. Sacramento officials have made vague noises about remaining in the conversation for a future franchise, as if the city were an eligible bachelor just waiting for MLB to come around once it's done flirting with the bigger markets. But behind closed doors, the conversation at City Hall isn't how do we attract MLB? It's how do we get out of these payments to cover the Golden One Center debt? When public officials are balancing budgets by pulling from homelessness funds, they're not in the mood to finance another billionaire passion project. The optics are nuclear level bad for Sacramento. MLB expansion is decided in boardrooms, not ballparks. Manfred's committee, composed of powerful owners like John Henry and Tom Ricketts, aren't evaluating a city's heart. They're evaluating its balance sheet. And Sacramento's is written in red ink. If this all sounds cynical, that's only because MLB has made cynicism the new realism. Consider Montreal, a historic baseball city, spurned when its public stadium subsidy failed to materialize, or Portland, the perpetual bridesmaid of expansion dreams, building glossy presentations with no billionaire sugar daddy to pay the bills. Sacramento's ambition is admirable and delusional in equal measure. Baseball expansion in the 21st century isn't about growth markets or fan engagement. It's about risk transfer and tax increment districts. Does that sound familiar? It's about politicians convincing voters that spending $1 billion on a ballpark will fix a city's soul. The cruel irony? Sacramento knows this playbook. It bought it once before, stapled to the Golden One Center bond packet. Sacramento will play a minor, delightful role in baseball's lore in a decade where the A's have fully transformed into the Las Vegas High Rollers. Nostalgic articles will reference the 3-year Sacramento stopover with warm affection. Fans will reminisce about the charm of the minor league intimacy hosting major league games. But that's all it will be, a charming interlude between chapters. Sacramento will be remembered as the kid who got to wear the big league jacket for a little while, even though everyone knew it wasn't his size. When MLB ultimately expands to Salt Lake City and Nashville, or perhaps Portland, if it ever finds a billionaire, Sacramento's contribution will have been as a gracious host to a vagabond franchise, not as a permanent member of the club. At the end of the day, guys, money wins. It always has. It always will. Sacramento doesn't have it, doesn't want to raise it, and couldn't justify it even if it did. The math is brutal. The politics are suicidal, and the historical precedent overwhelming. Baseball history isn't written by romance. It's written by revenue. And in that ledger, Sacramento's column reads insufficient funds. When MLB announces its shiny new expansion cities, likely Salt Lake City, Nashville, or maybe even Portland, Sacramento will watch from the bleachers, graciously, probably a little bitter, but still with that same dedicated local pride. Because in the game of American sports subsidies, Sacramento has heart, but not the checkbook. And heart, unfortunately, doesn't buy a franchise. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.